impala hardly saw it coming.
In northern Tanzania, right up against the border with Kenya, stretches one of Africa's most unforgiving regions, a vast expanse of savanna where life and death unfold relentlessly. Here, nature offers no respite. Beneath a merciless sky, the cracked earth stretches as far as the eye can see. In this land, the heat scorches during the day, and the nights bring a biting cold that cuts through the skin. Every living being, from the tiniest insect to the most fearsome predator, fights a daily battle to survive in an environment that punishes without warning. It is a scene of fierce contrasts, where the rains are brief and violent, and drought can last for weeks, turning the savanna into a desert of dust and hunger. In these lands, a creature survives that is unlike any other. An animal that gave up brute strength and numbers to bet on a radical strategy: absolute speed. The cheetah roams this ruthless land, forced to face constant dangers in order to survive. It lives alongside unique species, many of them on the brink of extinction, subjected to the brutal law of adapt or disappear. And among all of them, the cheetah represents the thin line between survival and failure. The history of this region is not written in stone, but in sun-bleached bones and fleeting tracks on the dry earth. Here, life depends on cunning, endurance, and the ability to anticipate danger before it becomes visible. Welcome to the wild heart of Tanzania, where time devours, the heat crushes, and where creatures like the cheetah challenge the rules set by nature every day. On the vast plains of northern Tanzania, where the horizon stretches on uninterrupted and the midday heat crushes the cracked earth, not everything is as it seems. At first glance, the savanna offers a deceptive calm. The wind sways the tall grass, a few herbivores graze in the distance, and the sky remains motionless, blue and merciless. But in that apparent silence, a creature unlike any other moves stealthily. It is by far more agile than the lion, lighter than the hyena, and less bulky than the leopard. The cheetah has chosen a different evolutionary path. Where the great predators rely on strength and endurance, it clings to a single, absolute specialization: speed. The cheetah's spine is an extraordinarily flexible structure, able to compress and stretch with every stride, creating a spring-like effect that propels its body as if gravity were barely a minor factor. Its legs, long and elastic, launch the animal across the savanna in dizzying bursts, where every contact with the ground is either an opportunity or a risk. Unlike other felines, the cheetah's claws do not retract completely. They allow it to maintain a constant grip on the ground, clinging to the earth during sharp turns, when the risk of skidding at such speed means the difference between catching its prey or starving. The tail plays a decisive role. Long, heavy, and sturdy, it acts like a rudder that balances changes of direction at over 100 kilometers per hour, instantly correcting every involuntary swerve, because in this brutal landscape, a chase that lasts only seconds marks the precise boundary between life and death. It doesn't have the strength of a lion, nor the territorial cunning of a leopard. It lacks jaws designed to tear apart large prey, and its muscles can't withstand prolonged fights. But what it lacks in strength or endurance, it makes up for with a unique ability, turning a split second into a verdict. Every muscle, every tendon, every fiber of its body is geared towards seizing that decisive moment, making speed its best and only ally. That extreme specialization shapes every aspect of its daily routine. During the day, the cheetah patrols its territory in silence. It prefers open areas where the short grass doesn't hinder its acceleration. Its senses are finely tuned to detect any irregularity, a sudden movement in the herd, a straggling calf, a distracted animal. During the first months after leaving their mother, these young cheetahs stay together, sharing minor hunting routes and resting spots. It's a brief alliance, lasting barely 1 or 2 years, until the instinct for competition and the search for their own territory drives them apart. Then, each one goes their own way, returning to the solitude that this landscape imposes. Meanwhile, the females roam vast stretches alone, raising their cubs far from areas frequented by lions and hyenas. Solitude protects, but it also exposes. The risk is constant. Although it boasts the greatest land speed known, this gift comes with fragility. An injured cheetah is a dead cheetah. A cheetah that fails in a hunt is left exposed to having its prey stolen, and with no fat reserves or stored strength, its chances of survival are reduced to a minimum. Every chase carries the risk of overheating. At that speed, in less than a minute, its body temperature approaches critical levels. If it doesn't catch its prey within that window, it has to stop. And if it doesn't, its collapse is imminent. That's why its strategy isn't about chasing everything that moves. It stalks, calculates, studies the terrain, and waits for the perfect moment. The choice of prey doesn't depend solely on size or distance. The exact spot where it is a crack in the ground, a slight slope, or a patch of denser grass can ruin everything. Scavengers detect the signal of a successful hunt through subtle clues. Air currents carry the fresh scent of meat, guiding a vulture that spirals downward, timing its approach just right. The cheetah, still panting beside its fallen prey, watches it warily. There is no direct, overt attack or open, aggressive confrontation, just a silent, intricate negotiation in which the passage of time truly favors the most patient and enduring individuals. Every close peck, every winged shadow landing just a few meters away, is a reminder that the feast is on borrowed time. The vulture doesn't swoop in right away. It circles. It waits for the predator, exhausted and alone, to give in from sheer fatigue. It senses that patience is its ally, and that the prey changes hands without the need for a fight. Just as adult survival depends on this resistance to attrition, the next generation faces its own battles. Reproduction is also an uneven struggle. Cheetah cubs face one of the highest mortality rates among Africa's large predators. 70% of the cubs do not survive the first few months of life. Lions and leopards, when they find an unprotected litter while the female is away hunting, take the opportunity to eliminate the cubs. They don't do it for food. Their goal is to reduce future competition for prey in their territory. That's why the females must constantly move, hide their cubs in secluded places, and minimize their hunting activity for weeks. A delicate balance between surviving and protecting the next generation. And yet, the cheetah is still here, because in an environment ruled by brute force, it managed to find another way to survive: speed, calculation, and absolute risk taken every day. When the sun begins to set and the shadows stretch across the plain, the cheetah's activity decreases. The heat that has punished the land all day gives way to a colder wind that signals the arrival of night. The feline moves toward more open areas. It lies down on the grass and limits its movements. It does not hunt in the darkness. Its vision, adapted to the first and last light of the day, loses effectiveness in the deep night. The lion then takes control of the savannah. In this terrain, when the lion begins its nocturnal stalking, the cheetah hides in the thicket or in a depression in the ground, crouched and in absolute silence, avoiding drawing attention. It remains alert, carefully rationing its energy. At dawn, when the light barely touches the horizon, it will resume its constant vigilance. Every day in this landscape is a battle for survival, and none guarantees a new dawn. The morning heat slowly begins to dissipate and the savannah awakens with increasingly distinct sounds. The wind stirs the tall grass while distant roars reverberate across the plains. Little by little, control shifts hands and the daytime hunters reclaim their presence in the landscape. As the light grows stronger, the slender silhouette of a female cheetah glides carefully through the tall grass. Two cubs, only a few months old, follow her closely, barely visible among the dry stalks. They are small, vulnerable, still learning to read the signs of the vast world around them. With no shelters to protect them, every step exposes them to the invisible stalking of predators. The grass that hides them can also be a trap, and the silence that surrounds them is a constant warning that forces them to stay alert. On those open plains, where life and death are decided in fractions of a second, the female stops by some low bushes, sniffs the air, surveys the land, and moves toward a clear area. Her young imitate her, memorizing the paths where gazelles graze unwatched and the clearings where predators lie in wait. Each movement traces the spots where, hours earlier, a lion's passage left fresh tracks or where the wind carries the scent of easy prey. Suddenly, the female stops. Her ears catch something. In the distance, a figure stands out against the horizon. An adult male lion, alone. He's not hunting. He's just wandering. But his mere presence is enough to alter every movement on the savannah. The cheetah mother crouches down. Her cubs remain motionless. The lion continues, sniffing the air, picking up traces only he can interpret. The threat lingers, silent, tense, moving like an ancient certainty across the grass. There's no time to flee, no shelter nearby. Taking her cubs away is not an option. If she stays, her fate will be sealed. But the ancient instinct of this female does not choose submission. Without hesitation, she takes a step toward the lion. The distance is dangerous, but not deadly yet. She challenges him. The female then starts a measured run, not at full speed, not yet. Just enough to stay within his sight, to tempt him to follow. She leads him far away, tracing circles, zigzagging between scattered bushes. Every stride counts. She doesn't run out of fear, she runs out of strategy. The lion tries to close the gap, but his heavy body, built for strength and short bursts of attack, can't keep up the pace. The cheetah speeds up, pulls away, stops further ahead, then moves again. And so it goes on for minutes that feel eternal. When finally the lion, exhausted and frustrated, stops his pursuit and decides to surrender to the logic of the savannah, where spending energy without catching prey is signing your own defeat, the female has already memorized every meter covered and knows exactly where she left her cubs. Without hesitation, she turns back and, in a perfect line, returns. Her cubs, hidden, have remained motionless. She reaches them and checks on them with a quick nuzzle of her snout, then continues on, now heading toward a safer area. There is no triumph in her expression, nor any celebration. Victories are not celebrated, they are simply breathed in, silently appreciated, and stored in memory. Because in that landscape, strength decides many things, but not everything. Survival belongs to those who know when to fight and when to take risks. And in that brief moment, the cheetah managed to turn her greatest vulnerability into her only opportunity. The sun sets slowly and shadows stretch across the savannah. They have overcome the immediate danger, but only the danger of today. The days ahead remain a constant battle, especially for her cubs, still small and fragile, who depend on every decision their mother makes to survive in this unforgiving world. Across the vast expanse of the savannah, life continues its course with the same harshness and precision. Among its inhabitants, a lion who spent much of his life under the protection of his pride now moves through the territory with measured steps. He was neither the biggest nor the most skilled, and he never led a hunt or fiercely defended a territory. As often happens in these groups, the balance of power is maintained by a strict order. And within that order, he always occupied the lowest rung. The rules are simple and ruthless. Food is not distributed fairly, it is taken. The right to mate is not granted, it is fought for. And whoever lacks a manner, enough strength, or support from his brothers is left out. That was his life, eating alone when there were leftovers, taking avoidable blows, and learning to move unnoticed to avoid provoking those who surpassed him in strength and cunning. The alpha male, with his thick, dark manner, is the living image of authority in this land. His mere presence forces the other males to lower their heads and keep their distance. None dare challenge him, because losing means exile or death. This young lion knew that hierarchy from birth. But the day came when he had to choose to make the decision that would change everything. The savannah is unforgiving to the indecisive. He either remains a subordinate, feeding on leftovers, condemned to anonymity without offspring, or he leaves an exile with no guarantees, where loneliness, hunger, and other predators lurk around every corner, where no friendly raw answers and every sound is a threat. Even so, he chose exile. Not much happens on the first day. The second day brings with it a suffocating heat and a brief storm that leaves the ground sticky and the air heavy. As the hours go by, the signs of hunger start to show. The muscles begin to lose their firmness and the mind becomes slow, sluggish. Adult lions need a considerable amount of meat to keep their bodies in hunting condition. Without it, strength fades and instincts grow dull. If it doesn't eat soon, its body won't respond when it needs it most. There are no easy prey on these plains. No tiny or weakened animal wanders around unsuspecting. Here live the great African herbivores, muscular antelopes, fast zebras, and oryxes with sturdy bodies and spear-like horns. These creatures have survived because they know the rules of this place. That's why lions hunt in groups. Alone, the chances of success are slim. But for this lion, now there is no choice. One afternoon, in the middle of that land where everything seems distant and hostile, it sees it. A young oryx, separated from its group, nibbles on the grass, unaware of the presence of a hunter. The opportunity is minimal, but unique. 4 minutes, the lion remains hidden, analyzing the distance, the wind direction, and the possible escape routes of its prey. There is no room for error. If it fails, exhaustion and injuries will doom it. And then it charges. The chase is brief, tense, with no room for distractions. In seconds, the lion's paws close the distance, and with a calculated leap, its claws sink into the oryx's back. The animal immediately shakes its head in violent movements, trying to tear at the attacker with its long horns. The impact hits the lion's side, but it doesn't manage to shake it off, because for this solitary hunter, there is no second chance. He can't wait for the next day, nor for another hunt with companions. This moment decides his fate. He holds on, withstands the blows, and with his jaws clamped around the oryx's neck, he begins to tear. Blood appears quickly, darkening the earth beneath them. The skin gives way and the raw flesh is exposed. The oryx kicks, first in desperation, then as an automatic reflex. Death in this place does not come with honor or justice. It is the inevitable result for those who cannot escape and for those who cannot afford to fail. And so, what began as the misfortune of an exiled lion becomes the first victory of his new existence, without a pride, without support, and without anyone else's rules. A life where every meal is earned alone and where every scar tells its own story. This lion, anonymous until now, has taken the first step toward writing an unlikely legend. One of those rare lives in which a male, tired of the chains of his group, throws himself into the abyss of the savannah and, instead of succumbing, survives. And if he manages to live long enough, he could even become what once oppressed him, a solitary male, master of his own territory, his food, and his destiny. But that remains to be seen. For now, night falls and, with the oryx's body half devoured, This lion gazes at a horizon that, for the first time, is entirely his own. In the African savannah, the oldest law is not written in stone, but in flesh. Those who do not strive, die. Those who do not take risks, disappear. And lions, unlike the prey that surround them, understood thousands of generations ago that survival is not a matter of luck, but of determination. A pride of lions is a tightly organized society. Each member has their place and their duty. The lionesses hunt, care for the cubs, and defend the territory. For their part, the males, when they reach enough size and strength, fight to consolidate their social and territorial dominance. But not everyone makes it to that place. Many are born, grow up, and die without ever leaving a mark on this world. And those, the pride casts aside. When a lion becomes slow, cowardly, or gets used to taking what it hasn't hunted, it turns into a burden. No one protects or defends it. The very family that once sheltered it expels it, condemning it to walk alone until hunger or predators bring its story to an end. And it is that brutality, that intolerance toward weakness, that has made lions the rulers of these lands. They have never allowed themselves to settle. There is no room for laziness. There is no space for fear. If a lion is not willing to die in the fight, if it doesn't face stronger rivals or take part in a hunt until its last breath, it doesn't deserve to belong to the pride. That's how it's always been. And for that very reason, only they rule the savannah. All around them, a vast majority of herbivores inhabit these plains: zebras, wildebeests, gazelles, antelopes. Animals born with the curse of cowardice inscribed in their bodies. Their eyes don't look straight ahead, but to the sides. Their legs weren't made for attacking, but for fleeing. And their mouths, unable to tear, are resigned to grazing. Evolution does not reward conformity. To those animals, it has given long legs for running and sensitive ears for listening, but it never allowed them to challenge. They live in herds, lose themselves in the crowd, and hope that someone else will fall first. Only very occasionally does one of them stop accepting its fate and confront its limitations. But those are exceptional cases, and almost always end in failure. The lion, on the other hand, is part of a natural elite that, from its origins, chose to live on the edge of danger and has paid the price. For every adult lion that stands tall under the sun, many have died before reaching that point. Only those who overcame their fear, their conformity, and their inherited weakness claimed these lands. Here, there are no inheritances or granted titles. Position is earned, and anyone who doesn't show constant courage sinks. It's a world where kindness guarantees nothing, and compassion is a non-existent luxury. That rule, invisible yet ever present, separates those who look to the horizon as owners from those who only graze and flee. Each generation, those who don't adapt disappear, and those who remain pass on their brutality, their ferocity, and their resilience. As a result, lions enjoy privileges that no other animal in this environment can afford. On the savannah, where every creature lives watching shadows, measuring distances, and fearing the next attack, lions walk without looking back. They have no natural predators. No one dares to challenge them. That allows them to dominate the safest water sources, the ones that stay cool even during the dry season. They can rest under the thickest trees, where the foliage shields them from the harsh sunlight and the moisture lasts longer. The shade of those trees is territory reserved for the kings of these lands. No herbivore, no matter how large, will stop there if a lion is present. After a successful hunt, lions eat until their stomachs can't take another bite. And then, they sleep. They are capable of resting for more than 20 hours a day without anything disturbing them. During that time, the herbivores graze at a distance. The scavengers wait at a cautious distance and the jackals prowl in silence. That privilege of sleeping without fear, of resting your body without always keeping one eye open, is a reward reserved only for them. Because this place doesn't reward the good, but those who have paid the price to reach the top. In addition to their physical strength, lions have developed unique adaptations. They are born prepared to survive in a hostile environment. Their eyes perceive details in the darkness that others cannot distinguish. Their hearing picks up distant frequencies, and their sense of smell interprets invisible messages carried by the breeze from miles away. A lion's instinct is a tool honed by generations of violence. It can sense the direction of a group of prey before its eyes confirm it. An irregular movement in the grass, a change in the rhythm of the wind, or a sudden silence in a certain area are signals that its subconscious processes before its reason intervenes. And when everything seems calm, when the afternoon grows heavy and the heat presses down on the plain, that same subconscious warns it that something is not right. An almost physical premonition, a slight tension in the muscles, as if its body were telling it that death is closer than usual. That invisible code has saved thousands of lions before him, and now it lives in his blood. That's why lions don't run away. That's why they don't give up territory. That's why they rest where others don't dare. They are the dominant predators, not just because they can hunt, but because from the moment they are born, everything about them, their body, their mind, and their instincts is designed to survive where others fail. They have paid a high price for it. Every generation has. But the result is this: an animal that can sleep peacefully while everything around it remains on alert. And yet, after all that violence, after the territorial fights, the bloody hunts, and the exile of the weak, there is something about lions that unsettles anyone who observes them closely. Despite being relentless predators, lions are also one of the most affectionate social animals in all of Africa. Unlike tigers, who roam their territories alone and avoid all contact with other adult individuals, lions cannot survive without their pride. They need company, physical closeness, and a structure that keeps the group together. Every day, between long hours of sleep and hunting trips, lions groom each other. They spend whole minutes cleaning the wounds and dust from the fur of their brothers, sisters, and cubs with their tongues. They rub their faces together, caress each other, and lie on top of one another seeking direct contact. It's not a superficial gesture, but a vital code. This behavior strengthens the bonds within the group. It's the only way they have to maintain cooperation in an environment where resources are scarce and competition is fierce, where words don't exist and language is built from touch, closeness, sharing shelter in the shade, or the carcass of a freshly hunted animal. It's also a matter of strategy. Physical closeness keeps the pack scent uniform, confuses smaller predators, and reinforces the group's position in their territory. It's a custom inherited from ancestors who learned that, without cooperation, no male, no matter how strong, could sustain a pack on his own. That's why, while the rest of the big cats prefer solitude, lions were born to live together. Because in this land where death lurks around every corner, violence erupts in seconds, and hierarchy decides between life or exile, only those who know when to fight and when to share survive. The lion is, ultimately, an animal of extremes, capable of mercilessly tearing apart its prey or expelling a weak brother without remorse, but also of sleeping just inches from a rival, sharing food with its cubs, and tenderly grooming an injured sister. And maybe that's what makes it such a fascinating creature for both nature and humans. It's not its strength, speed, or roar. It's that ability to move between absolute savagery and the most genuine affection, between death and rest, between solitude and brotherhood. An animal with so many facets that even after millions of years, it remains a paradigm for its species. The savannah remains still under the dim light of the afternoon. One lion yawns, another lies down beside it. Somewhere, hyenas prowl and gazelles keep their eyes on the horizon. But for now, just for now, everything remains in balance. And here, in this corner of Africa, That's how it will remain. In the African jungle, where the mist kisses the treetops and shadows lurk in every corner, the battle for survival is relentless, eternal, inevitable. But not all the inhabitants of this environment rely on speed or strength to survive. Some have chosen stealth as their best strategy. Lower down, where sunlight barely manages to filter through the dense treetops and moisture gathers, forming a thick blanket over the fertile ground, lives one of the most enigmatic and discreet creatures of the African tropical ecosystem, the Jackson's chameleon. This reptile has adapted to a unique way of
larger territories, and they are willing to travel many kilometers to protect food sources and mating opportunities. To survive in the harsh conditions of the Kalahari Desert, leopards have developed special adaptations. Their bodies are equipped with powerful muscles, sharp claws, and keen senses, all of which serve their stealthy and ambush hunting lifestyle. However, in this arid environment, leopards have also developed behavioral and physiological characteristics that help them cope with high temperatures and lack of water.
Those crocodiles are so sneaky.
To ascertain whether there is currently an individual or entity actively engaged in verbal communication. Please confirm any audible speech is occurring, indicating that someone is indeed speaking at this moment. I need to verify the presence of vocalization within the immediate environment to understand if a conversation or monologue is underway. Specifically, I am inquiring about the act of articulation of words.